So basically, over the years, I formulated my own sort of strategy using the best of what I found, and we've had pretty good results. But out there are many different ways, and it's you're open to explore all of them because they all come more or less come to the same thing. And there's something that we're all trying to do is what? To live a life of quality, to achieve our goals, to get to where we want to be. And all of them is also subjective, right? I mean, where we want to be and where we are right now is very subjective. So everybody's obsessed over success. I'm not successful, I need to do this and I need to do that. But then also there's a process of saying, what does success mean to me? And when you see your neighbors being died of COVID, or and then you're like, whoa, okay, now was he unsuccessful because COVID killed him? No, it wasn't COVID that killed him, it was God that killed him. All right? And so that was his time or her time to go. Right? And that's the thing now, we at the same time take your prevention. But when it happens, it's not COVID that's the enemy here. And there is no enemy, because as my last post said, if you read it, Dear Precious Soul, saying that you're a soul created, and this is my view on the world because it works for me. And if it doesn't work for you, that's perfectly fine too and acceptable. But I truly believe, as Wayne Dyer said, that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. You're not a human being having a spiritual experience. So if we are spiritual beings returning back to where we came from, then the journey back home is either shortened or lengthened, but ultimately we're going back there. And so I always love using stories of the Zen masters and from the Zen teaching. So a personal friend of mine that came to Cape Town, mutual friend of mine, we met and we were chatting, and he said to me, we were working on a very wonderful program to helping the rural poor people in Africa. We were on a long drive to a farm, and then he said to me, well, I don't eat meat. And I said, so why don't you eat meat? And we had this whole discussion, and he was telling me how he's Swiss and he worked for one of the largest hotel chains in the world, making a fortune of money, and then he got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And the tumor was growing bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And so he went into the hospital, and they said to him, look, we're going to have to operate immediately because you have a brain tumor. And if you don't operate, then you have 3 months. But if we do operate, there's a strong chance you'll lose most of your memory and possibly your eyesight. But there's no other choice. Now, you facing that kind of life, which can happen, no? I mean, we don't put this in because our brain's telling us, you're going to be here forever. All these problems will stay here forever and you're not going anywhere, so make this your life, right? He was lying there in the hospital bed going, what the hell do I do now? He got up off the hospital bed, left the hospital. The doctor said, are you mad? You're going to be dead soon. You know what you're doing? And he said, I don't know, but I need to get out of here. He got out of there. He went to see a friend of a friend, and they said to him, come meet this man. He's a Zen monk. And so he went and met with him, and he said he said, tell him your problem. And he said to the Zen monk, well, I've been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and I've got 3 months to live. And the Zen monk said, you lucky bastard, you're going to be gone in 3 months. We still got to put up with all this crap here. Aren't you lucky? And that was like, he was just like, what the hell, And that's what I love about the Zen masters and the teachers, is they just put your head in a spin, And he was furious. He went back home and he told his friend, who is this guy? He's got no sympathy, and what kind of a humanitarian is he, whatever. And then he got off his whole thing, and he decided to come back to the Zen master. And he said to the Zen master, what should I do? Zen master said, go to Japan, go to this place, and go to this monastery, and go see this guy. He went to meet one of his companions over there in Japan, took off immediately. The man said to him, see that wooden house over there? You go in there. No TV, no cell phone, no communication, no talking, no newspaper also. We will feed you the meal 3 times a day. You have to sit there in absolute silence for 10 hours a day. And he said he almost killed himself many, many times in the process. He could not. I mean, the thing that we hate doing is to sit there with our thoughts and our feelings. He sat there 3 months being fed the food, going for his daily walks and all the rest. Not a word to anyone. After 3 months, the Zen master said, you can leave now. He went back to Switzerland, went for a brain scan. There's no tumor. And so I was driving in the car with this guy who is in superb health, in astoundingly good health. He's 50 something, and the man has more energy than I could ever believe. And so he said, I'm dedicating my life to serving the poor because this is what I want to do. I don't want to go back to my high-tech job. So all of us are trying to be this wonderful, successful person, and we can look down and say, look, we made it to the top of the mountain, hoorah, right? And that's what we're all trying to do. And then we get there, and then life, if you're very lucky, throws you with a hard hit on your head and says, you're going to die anyway, so what are you going to do about it, right? And so that changed him entirely. Now, the reason why I tell you the story is because our brains think that we're going to live forever. So I say the number one killer today is not stress, it's comfort. Because we've created a Western society where if I wanted to meet Lizanne, I can just sit in front of my computer, take out a beer, get some peanuts. I don't even have to leave my house, right? And that sounds all fine and good. But as Eckhart Tolle said, Lizanne, if you heard, he went to India. And we in South Africa, so we know, Shahid and a few other guys who are here. When you see death, he went to India and he was saying, I saw dead people on the floor, people dying on one side of the road. And I was like, so he says, you think living in the West or in the protected society is that life works and life makes sense, so you're avoiding problems. But when you're in India and when you're in Africa, if you can get from A to B without being kicked, thrown over, or something happening to that, you realize that's life. And when you see death, but in the West, you don't see death. We don't see dead bodies. In our culture, it's compulsory to go to the funeral. If there's a funeral, you must go. And I'm sure that's very common. Because when you go there and you say, poor guy, what did he die of? And you say, I'm going there too. Then you sort of start getting a different perspective. But the large amount of the fear is because we're fearing life. Because if you know you're going to die, which you are, yes, you have to acknowledge that, all of you, right? And so before you die, which is coming, then what are you going to do, whether that's in 2 months or 40 years? Are you going to continue living this way? And this is what happened. So if you're very lucky and life either gives you a major illness that you're going to die from, takes a loved one away from you that hurts you so much that life no longer makes sense, and you go, what the fuck is this? You know? So my friend, after 28 years of marriage, his wife tells to him, piss off, I hate your guts. He's like, what? 28 years? It took you 28 years to tell me to piss off? Like you couldn't think about this anytime sooner? She says, no, I've had enough of you. And guess when that happened? When his son met up in a car accident and became a quadriplegic. When that moment happened, and I'm not trying to make this depressing, okay? But there's this reality check here, okay? It's that, hold on here, guys. It ain't gonna be like this forever. But right now, if you look in the mirror, things are wonderful. So when that moment happened, and 27 years into the marriage, when her son became a quadriplegic and he passed away, I'm really glad. And that's why death is such a mercy, because if you had to see the state he was in, very happy, but it was very difficult for him to do things. So, out of the mercy, the divine took him back, right? And that was a great mercy. So when you encounter this over and over again, and you start seeing, murders and killings and things like that, and it sounds, oh no, in the West they're like, hide the dead person away. We don't want to see the dead person, right? But that's your salvation when you look at that and you go, that's gonna be me one day, and I'm still here and I'm fine. So while we're here, all of you have these long faces. Shade, I think I'll put them all in there. They're like, oh shit. Okay. So Nok, are you all right, Nok? Okay, so good. So look, stop taking life so seriously, because nobody's getting out of here alive. All right? I told my friend that this morning. None of you are getting out of life. Not me, not you. So the sooner we can come to grips, and so because our brains are telling us, oh, death, what's death? We don't care about death. And now COVID is like, oh, did you hear the neighbor died? Died? People don't die, do they? They didn't tell me this, right? And that's what happened with Buddha, right? So Buddha got his enlightenment. He was meant to be, he was live now exactly the same. He was meant to be in the line of his father to be one of the great rulers of the empire. And he was protected. Buddha was protected in a very safe place. He wasn't shown any of the gruesome nature. And one day when he was in his teenage years, he went out, and they went out to the streets, and he saw dead people, and he saw sick people, and he saw a guy over there just dying, and he said, what is this? What is this place? And so someone said to him, this is life. And it just shocked him to such a point, and he went, hold on a second here. And that's when he made the statement, all life is suffering. Because it is. If you're stuck in here, we're going to have to figure out 10,000 ways on how to feel happy, because every thought, and 80% of our thoughts are negatively biased. So we wake up going, I wonder what will go wrong now. What happens if I lose my job? What happens if this happens? And so you're just suffering your torment of your thoughts. So Buddha's way, which I take a lot from, which is meditation, it's not the religion of, and there isn't a Buddhist religion actually. So from the Zen teachings and the Tibetans, they're fascinating. So what I want to do is to, first of all, reset our moods here so that we can feel like, I don't know, I feel like living when I hear that. I'm like, okay, Shade, how long we got? And Shade's my oldest friend on the group. He's not the oldest, I'm older, but I've known Shade for how many years, Shade? Forever. And you remember the time when we saw Yusuf's death? I mean, that was our good friend, huh? 3 brothers, and Yusuf was our good friend. We went to the house. His mother, they were all very close to me, and they regarded me as somewhat of a, I don't know, like a senior person there. And, well, not senior person, that doesn't sound right. Shade, what's the right word to use there? Elder brother. And the mother said to me, Rishad, all 3 of my sons are gone. And I tell you what, I was like, I don't know how old I was, 21 or even, somewhere there. I was like, what do you say to this woman? And our friend Yusuf, amazing human being, all 3 bodies lined up waiting to be buried at the same time. And I tell you what, that mother was courageous like you can't believe. Any idea what happened there, Shade? And so Shade, we've got quite a few stories to tell you, which we're not going to tell you because this is about coaching. But it's just a bit of a realization that life is not going to be here forever. And because we encounter death well before COVID, very, very frequently, including our own death. I mean, 3 times already. I've always almost been killed. And so that kind of situation puts you in, okay, you're still alive. Yep, still kicking. While I'm still here, let's do something about it. And the problem is in the West, and that's why I chose as an Australian citizen to live in South Africa instead of Australia. Why? Because I feel more alive here. And people will say, well, you're mad. No, pretending like everything is perfect and life is going to be here forever, that's madness. It's not. Okay, so guys, I just think what's more important than death is life. And if we can embrace life and live it for this moment, and so for us, when we say this moment, it means a lot more real than someone who sees their parents getting elderly and then slowly fading away. Like my father was killed in a car accident. I didn't have a moment. I just got a phone call and he said, he's dead, right? So that's the kind of thing where you don't have time to gauge this, but all those experiences, just every time you get something like that, I just want to live more and more. And when you're isolated and you're protected, so I'm glad when this happens and you say, he died of this and he died of that, because now you realize that people are dying. Oh, Priyakshi in India, thank you, because that's what we were referring to. Priyakshi, tell me. So yeah, we know these things happen, and sometimes it's good to get a bit of reality check. But remember, when you're hearing these stories, there's 2 things you can do. One emotion you can get and go, oh, I feel terrible, I feel so guilty, I'm so shameful, and I'm so pathetic, and I'm making all my problems into, and that's not useful. Okay, so the reason for telling you this is not to say, you're a piece of crap and you should be grateful even though your life is not perfect. That doesn't work, okay? That never works. And that's the shortcut. Like you tell your child, I remember telling my children before, but don't you know other people don't have any food? And the child just feeling like crap. Does that change behavior? No. So that's not what we're trying to do here. Then the other thing that can happen, you go, you know what? I'm still here. And those people experience those things and they've overcame them, like Priyakshi and all the rest of us is still here. So what are we going to do about the life that we've got? And remember, your body, as Priyakshi knows, because she does Reiki, have energy centers, and each energy center is aligned to an emotion, right? And the people from the medical fraternity don't know much about this, but I take from the ancient wisdom, and I don't think there's any contradiction with that either. So different emotions reside at different energy centers, also called chakras. So when you have an emotion like guilt, shame, self-pity, I feel this, whatever, that's now radiating at the lower chakra. And the lower chakra is responsible for feeling safe and secure. And it's also got to do with our hormone function. So over time, when you're feeling like a victim and you feel like you know it's your fault, it's that person's fault and that one's to blame, it's actually drying up your entire safety net in the world. So by you saying, you know what, it's nobody's fault actually, life was meant to happen like that and I'm okay with it, that words then changes the energy and it starts moving up towards your heart. And the heart is the center that is empowered and it can make choices. So right now, fear, which is the number one emotion all around us, is affecting our root chakra, or at the bottom chakra, which means that we're going to be experiencing very much similar symptoms, and there's a direct relationship between the emotions that we're feeling all the time. So how do we change them? And this the reason why I'm in coaching and not wisdom selling and as to tell you why you should be happier in life, is because it's a process. You know all of this. Everybody knows they should be doing more, they should be happier, but you're not, okay? That's the reality, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning going, I'm going to complain, feel frustrated, anxious, stressed, and then worry about my work and my money, right? Nobody does that. But then yet here we are. So what is the method then? And so what I did was develop the program, and that's what I do in my coaching journey, and that's the reason for this call. So I always believe that things work out the way they were supposed to, and this call, I'm glad that happened because it was meant to be said. But the reason for why I organized this is to say the year is starting. How do we approach this year differently to all the other years in our lives? Because the world is not the same as last year. Because you'd say New Year's resolution, let's do things differently. You got no choice but to do things differently, right? So you got to do things differently. How are you going to approach life? Are you going to approach it and say, oh, I'm going to, work my way up to the next level and, try to get better relationships? Or are you going to say, hold on? Because that's what I did. I said, I got 1 year to live. 1 year. What am I going to do with it? And it's very, very possible. And now it's become even more apparent that you may just have 1 year. And you know what? That's the most empowering feeling in the world. Because that guy who was diagnosed, my good friend, when he was diagnosed with Christian was his name. Actually, Christian with a double A. And when you're diagnosed with this thing, you got to say, I got no choice. But because we've got a choice to be sloppy and happy, and so we can choose that way, right? And the brain keeps us where we are. So how do we get to where we want to be? The first step is to identify the difference between a state and a goal. Does anyone know the difference between a state and a goal? Some of you may have seen my post on this, and I posted about this last year. By the way, I just passed 70,000 followers on LinkedIn, so I'm super glad to hear that. But the funny thing is, it's not 70,000 likes that you get on the page. So I'm averaging like 70 likes. And my daughter said to me, why are you getting 70 people liking your post when you got 70,000 followers? That's LinkedIn and the algorithm and all the rest of it. So you look at it and you're like, okay, so that's great. But at the same time, it doesn't affect my bank balance, but people out there think it's more recognition. It's not to me anyway. So what was I saying before I talked about recognition? Right, state versus goal. So I did a series of posts on this, and if you ask yourself, what do you want in life and where do you want to be? Right, when you take on a new job and they say, where would you like to be in 5 years? Right, what's your answer? You'd say, well, I'd like to be a senior manager, because you're lying in an interview because you want them to believe that, because you can't tell them, look, I just want a shitload of money, and if I got to put up with this job, I will, right? Because you're not here because you love working, okay? So then you say to them, oh, well, I want to be a senior manager. But ultimately, what do you want? So people will say, I'll tell you what the number one thing is, and it's not going to surprise you. Freedom. The number one thing people want. I want to be free. What's the number one thing people want to do when they're free? Travel, right? And all of you may be going, right? So you may think that you're all unique in that what you desire, but here's the thing. Did you come up with that, or did someone else come up with it and then told you about it and you believe it now? Right? Because that's the line, right? So in fact, there's this thing about this collective consciousness that Carl Jung talked about. So we're thinking our own thoughts. We're thinking going, oh no, I must be rich and have 3 children, and then my husband must look like this, and my wife must do this, and I'll have this job and the mansion, and I will travel first class, because it has to be first class. Otherwise, you're not going to want to do it, because that's not freedom in economy class. So we have all these expectations. But ultimately, when you say you want to be in first class, do you realize the emotion or the state that you want to feel? What state do you want to feel? What happens when you're sitting in first class? You feel special. You feel dignified. You feel honored. Why? Because none of that is real in your life right now. So can you see that you may end up getting to be in first class and you may not be feeling that way. So you would have spent a lot of time doing that. So I have a friend of mine who's a billionaire and I have regular arguments with him because he's like, no, once I get to this point, then I will be happy and then I'll be able to do all that wonderful spiritual stuff you talk about. And I said, okay, sure, but there's just this one more project and I'm going to empower these people and make a lot of money and then I'm going to give it all away. And things are falling apart. His wife was diagnosed with something as well. So, and we're not saying that everybody that's successful is going to end up sick and miserable, because there are people that are wealthy, healthy, and successful in everything, and they're wonderful people. And this is the exception, not the rule. So, number one, ask yourself this question: what do I want to achieve? And is it a state of mind that I want to achieve, or is it a measurable goal? For instance, I want to have $10 million. With the $10 million, I will buy a house that's comfortable for my family. I will spend enough money to take my children to school. I will go and see the world and do those things. Those are sort of measurable. And always ask this question: why do you want to do it? Why? And remember, this the thing that we're going to be talking about in the next series is called the law of attraction. So the law of attraction is a term used and made famous by the book The Secret, that you can attract the life that you want, right? And the law of attraction states that like attracts like, lack attracts lack. So if you want something that you don't have, you have to feel that same vibrational frequency as if though you have it. So if you're sitting here, as an example, my life sucks, I need a bigger house. The law of attraction is not going to work for you. And in fact, it doesn't work in the nature of the universe. So the law of attraction is not outside of human consciousness. It's part of how we think and how we feel. So if you're feeling lack and your life is terrible right now, there's no way you can attract the life that you want. So first of all, make it clear you know the difference between what a state that you're trying to achieve is, because you can't achieve happiness. You can't. Where's the measurable? Oh, I'll know when I'm there. Will you? Is happiness sustainable on a daily basis? No. Or you say, I want freedom. What is freedom? What is that? Is it money? Okay, so you have the money and you're free now, right? So think about all the billionaires who work their asses off sitting here going, oh, I'll be able to see the world first class. And the guys go, well, you can't go anywhere because there's no flights going anywhere if you come from these countries. So that would have been quite a waste of time if you're now 65 and you spent the last 30 years hoping to buy your freedom with a first class ticket and you can't go anywhere. So that may be why you need to identify a state versus a goal. Does that make sense? So a goal is something that is measurable, something that is time-based, something that is actual, and something that is realistic, and most importantly, that it aligns with a higher purpose. So it's not something that is sort of I want to do this because I feel sad, or I want to kill 10,000 people. That's not really going to manifest in that way. So that's why it has to be something that is beneficial to humanity as well. If there's something you want to add, then what we're going to do is the stillness meditation, because what I found out of all my teachings is that the Sadhguru, if any of you follow Sadhguru, he's an internet phenomenon with millions of likes and followers. So he said in the beginning that if everybody stays quiet for 21 days, the virus will just disappear. And everybody laughed. Right? He said, no, scientists are proving that because it also spreads through the mouth. So you better not talk, because then you'd spread COVID. So then he says, if you sat in your place of stillness and you didn't talk about it and didn't hype it up and keep on, making it into something, which it is, but whatever that is, we don't know, because humanity has faced issues like this before. And the key is silence. So for me, and that's what Buddha said, he said, anything that I engage in my mind with and say, oh, you're very good. Oh no, you're ugly. Oh no, you're this. Oh, you're no that. And then even the positive stuff. So I always say positivity is going to kill you. Oh, today I'm so positive. What happens tomorrow? Because tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to feel like shit, right? And then and then you're back to negative. I'm losing you guys on the thing here. Okay, Shade is still, you're all coming back now. Okay, it all just blanked out for a second. So positivity will kill you. Don't wake up in the morning try to be positive, because that is polarized, right? Because the more you try to be positive, the more you're dragging what towards you? Negativity. So it's one of these things that's called the law of polarity. If you like laws, the moment you put all your energy towards fighting this, you're creating the opposite. So what's beyond positivity and negativity? You know, there's a battery. You have a positive side and a negative side. So the Buddhists, the ancient teachers of all cultures, rave about silence, and I didn't know what that was until I discovered it, and it changed my life altogether. In fact, I would say that in my entire journey, there's one thing that I accomplished. It was to be able to be still in myself, and pretty much everything disappeared. Every problem in my life disappeared because all of it was created in my mind. And if I'm not engaging with my mind, then the problems don't take on any form, because I don't have to solve any problems, because there aren't no problems. Because I look around the room right now, and that's what I teach you on the 21-day challenge. Look around the room and say, is everything okay right here, right now? And if everything's okay right here, right now, then all your suffering is your thoughts. And thoughts are not real. And as Eckhart Tolle says so beautifully, thank God I am not my thoughts. Paraphrasing, right? Because if you are your thoughts, you're screwed, right? Because one moment you're positive, then you're negative, then you're happy, then you're sad, then all those other types of things as well. So, guys, if there's something that you want to add, otherwise I'm going to show you how we're going to tune in for a few minutes using an ancient Tibetan tool, which all of you have come to know and love, called the tingsha bells. I've been saying that from the beginning. I've been saying that's the universe giving us all a stillness retreat. So I would say even before you're forced to go into quarantine yourself, right? But we never do it because there's always this thing or that thing. It's only when the government says, look, if you go out, we're going to lock you up, then we're like, oh, okay, well, I'll stay home. And that's what I meant when the universe says to you, gives you such tragedy or such great misery that you say, you know what, life doesn't make sense. And you got to sit still and be quiet. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever done, is to spend time alone in my thoughts and being with myself. Try it sometime. You will be shocked at the torment you impose on yourself in here. And all the distractions we've mastered in order to stop this thing. Let's go watch another motivational video. Let's read a book. Let's see what Tony Robbins has to say. Let's go do this and watch another Instagram post. That's all great. But if you turn the phone off, turn your TV off, and go book yourself in to a place by yourself, it changed my life entirely. More than any coaching that ever did. So I'll tell you what, save your money and book yourself into a stillness retreat, and you'll get the same benefit, right? So Lizanne will disagree because she has had some benefit. No, actually quite a few of you have had some benefit as well. It's because we have the ability to look at it from a different point of view. And all I am is a sounding board, a mirror. I just feed back to you what your brain won't tell you. That's it. So guys, I think we will now go into, people are quite late today, so that's fine. Some people may have got the call, why don't you arrange a stillness retreat? Yes, Anissa, I want to. I don't know about the practicalities of doing it online, but in Cape Town, you're all welcome to a stillness retreat in Cape Town. I've been trying to put one together for a while. First class tickets. So that was a joke. You guys are like, that's not funny. You can't come to South Africa because we got shade. We've got COVID 2.0 out here apparently. So you guys have to stay away. Hey, Shade, is that right? Or 3.0? One of them. Shade won't comment. What? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, good. So leaving on a high note, let's go to, that's a problem having too many doctors in the room. So today has been a very somber meeting. But so guys, if we can, we're going to try to focus on listening to our thoughts, something that we actually don't do from observing. We know what we're thinking. Everybody knows what they're thinking. But who's thinking your thoughts is my question to you. And so can we find out who's thinking your thoughts? Are you your thoughts, or is something else thinking you? So are you thinking, or are you being thought? Let's close our eyes and find out. So if you can, we're going to tune into our breath and become aware. So get comfortable. You can close your eyes, turn your camera off if you like to. We're going to just be a little still for now. The rarest privilege in the world is to be still. So if we can, tune in to your breath, and we're going to tune in to breathing in through our nostrils and out through our nostril. Simple exercise. The nostril is the point that the breath connects from the outside world to the inner world. Inside us is an entire cosmos, and the breath brings in the external world to the inner world. So let's try that. In breath through our nose, out breath through our nose. In breath through our nose, out breath through our nose. Again. It's said that Buddha gained his enlightenment realizing there's a gap between his in-breath and out-breath. Take a breath in and pause. If this breath doesn't come out again, what happens? But it does. And breathe out. There's a pause between the in-breath and the out-breath. That's your moment to go further into the stillness. So follow your breath, in-breath. Notice the pause. Out breath. In breath. As you allow your breath to gain its natural form, begin to notice your thoughts. Notice something very peculiar. That if you watch your thoughts, they don't really come. Ask yourself this question. I wonder what I'll think of next. Now watch it. Thoughts like to go unnoticed without you watching it. The you that's watching it is the question you need to answer. Who is you watching these thoughts? So we breathe in again and out. Now I want you to be aware of your body field. Your body, there's a field around your body, away from your head. Bring all your attention into your body, starting at your heels. Lao Tzu, the great Chinese mystic, said, breathe through your heels for awareness. So breathe in through your heels and out through your heart. You can open your mouth as you breathe out. So in through your heels, in through your nose, out through your heart, using your mouth. So you're moving the energy from your heels to your heart, using your breath as an instrument of consciousness. In breath, through your heels, moving that energy all the way up, feel it moving its way all the way to the heart and out through the heart. Last one, big in breath, bring all that energy and out through the heart. We're moving all those lower centers of fear and guilt and shame to our higher centers into our heart. Now breathe in through your heart and out through your heart. All your attention on the heart, the middle of your chest where your heart's located. That's where all your energy is. Again, in breath and out breath. In breath, out breath. Now that all your awareness is in your body field and on your heart, I want you to tune into the voice of your heart. When you learn something by heart, where is that stored? In your head or in your heart? Your heart knows everything. It's time to form a relationship with your heart and let the brain do what it does. Your heart knows. Can you hear it beat? Listen carefully. Notice the gap between my words. My words come out of something. Emptiness. Tune into that. Feel this emptiness through your body. While you're feeling this stillness, I want you to bring your awareness into your thoughts. Notice something interesting. A thought comes like an energy field and then it disappears. Whatever thought comes, let it come. Allow it to come and watch as it dissolves. Like waves in the ocean. In comes the thought. Out goes the thought. What the thought wants you to do is to engage it and pretend like it's real. It's not. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness observing your thoughts. Deepen into the stillness. It's alive. Roll your eyes backwards. Try to look behind your head. This is your third eye center, intuition through your heart. Feel your heart energy. Feel the space between your eyebrows looking back. Feel your body. Feel the silence my words come out of. We will use the bells now. Keep your eyes closed. Focus on the silence. And follow the sound of the bell all the way back to silence. It starts in silence. It returns to silence. Focus on the silence. Just as the thoughts come and go, so will the bell. Your attention is on the silence. Watch your thoughts as they come and then disappear. Return back to that stillness, the precious stillness. It's your gift. When you're ready, you can cover your eyes with your hands. Wipe that energy all over your face, over your body, and take the space and the stillness with you throughout the week. It's yours to keep, and you can come back here whenever you like. Who would have thought stillness heals more than any words that you could ever use? And it affects the body directly. So we do these very powerful meditations. If you join our next session, creating space inside our body, hollowness, and you just float and you melt away, and life just happens through you, for you, with no resistance. So I hope you tune into your stillness in your workplace, in the craziness. Pay attention to your breath. Return to your breath and say, yep, it is that gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. That gap is the gap between each thought that's trying to say, no, you must do that. Tune into that and widen. The whole point of this entire thing is to widen the gap between thoughts. And so I have a stillness meditation, which some of you become quite fans of. It's on YouTube, it's free. The idea is to widen the gap, so you have more time in the space of stillness. And that's the biggest gift I can give everyone. Lao Tzu, I'll end off with this. He says, the usefulness of a cup is because it's empty. If a cup is full of things, it's useless. So if you want to go out there and be useful, empty your cup. Yeah, empty this guy here. And start living from here with emptiness. So they asked Rumi, they said to him, how do you make such complex concepts so simple? And he said, how can you make something so simple, so complex? Just be quiet, right? But we complexify life. It's not difficult.